Hello guys, and welcome back to the show. So today I would like to talk about decorators in Python. Now decorators is one of the things that I myself struggle to understand. So now that I do know how decorators work, I want to explain decorators to you, and hopefully I'll help you understand it much quicker than I did. So basically decorators, what they do is that they take in a function and they apply some functionality to that function and then return that thing. But before you can look at decorators, we need to look at functions in Python, and then we can break it down to what decorators are and what decorator is basically doing. So to start, I will basically define a method called hi. And what this method is going to do is that it will take in a name, and the name will be a string, and the default name for this thing, if I don't provide any, will be Ben. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to return a string as well. And what I will say is that if you give it a name, it will say hi to that name. So I'll say, all right, so I've got a function called hi, which takes in the name. The default name is Ben, and it returns a string. So now if I do say print hi, and I do not provide it anything, if I run this, it says hi Ben. This is how functions work in Python, okay? I can basically assign the function to a variable and then call that variable instead. So I could say that some greeting, and some greeting will basically be hi. And now I can say print, and I can basically call some greeting. Now if I call some greeting, I get hi Ben as well. Now let's try and define a function within a function. Just bear with me. If you understand this, you'll be able to understand how decorators work. So instead of saying returning hi name, what I'm going to say is print, and what I'm basically going to print is now you are inside the hi function. And then I will define a method called greet. And this method called greet will return now you are inside of the greet function. So I can do what to copy this one, and I can move this one here, and I will say now you are inside the greet function. And I can do the same thing for another method that I will call welcome. And lastly, what I'm going to do is to print the greet function, the welcome function, and then print now you are back inside the hi function. So I will do print greet, I'm going to print welcome, and lastly what I'm going to do is to print now you are back in the hi function. So now if I do run hi like so, this is what I'm going to get. It says now you are inside the hi function, now you are inside the greet function, now you are inside the welcome function, and it says now you are back in the hi. So we know that we are executing these methods inside of the hi function. Now let's try and return a function from within a function. So instead of printing now you're inside of the hi function, now you're inside of the greet function, what I'm going to do is to have a return statement, okay? So I'll say return inside of the greet function, and over here I'm going to say return as well. I'll have a simple logic here and say that if the name is Chris, what I would like you to do is to return greet. Else what I would like you to do is to return welcome. So now if I do run the hi method, let me print this one out. I'm returning the function welcome and the location of that function in memory, because we are not executing the function. If I do have this right here, that will execute the function. So we now know that we are returning a function, okay? So if I put in hi without the name Chris, right, I return the welcome function, and the welcome function is this. So this is what gets returned. That is what gets returned. So the welcome function in memory. Now, if I do execute like that, I do return what the welcome function contains. So I say now you are inside the welcome function. That is a very important thing to note, okay? Now saying hi, and this is basically saying A is equal to hi, and then printing A, okay? So if I do this, I return the welcome function, and if I do add a parenthesis here, I do execute the welcome function. So that was just a shorthand method of just having all in one without assigning the hi to a variable and then calling that variable again. Now that we've seen this, let's look at giving a function as an argument to another function. So rather than passing in the name as a parameter here, what we're going to do is to pass hi, a function, and then do something with that function, okay? So what I'm going to do is to say hi, it will take in a function, and then what I'm going to do is to print doing something before executing hi. And now I'm going to call that function or method, however you want to call it. And let me declare that function as well. So define the function. And what this function is going to do is to return hi. And let me say Chris as well. So I have this function, okay, their function, and I've got hi. So when I run the hi method here or the hi function here, I need to pass it a function, and then I print something and then return that function. Okay, so I will say hi, or to make things better, let me call this name and let me say Chris. So if I call hi, then I pass it the name method here. What I'm gonna get is I'm gonna get this printed out, and then I'm going to execute this function. So what I pass to hi, which in this case is name, so I'm going to execute this. So if I do print this out as well, what I'm going to have is this. I'm going to have doing something before hi. I think what I need to do as well is to print this so that I know what is getting printed out. So if I run it now, I get doing something before hi, then I get Chris printed out, and none because the method is not returning anything. So it is none, okay? We can now look at decorators in Python. So now let's write our first decorator. So the way you can write the first decorator is basically defining a method. So I'll go on and say that def a new decorator. So a decorator takes in a function and does something to that function. So I need to pass it a function, okay? So a function. And what I'm going to do is to have a wrapper function. So I can come over here and say define wrapper function. And what this wrapper function is going to basically do is that print I am doing something before executing a function. Call this function right here. Okay. So I'm going to call this function, and then I'm going to say again, I'm doing something after executing a function. So let's make it clear, a function. Okay, so this is the decorator. It takes in a function and then it returns a function. I'm going to return wrapper function. I'll go on to declare another function called a function which requires a decorator. So I'll say def a function that requires a decorator. What this function is going to do is basically print I'm a function that requires the decorator. So now if I say a function that requires the decorator and I execute this, what I am expected to get is this. I'm a function that requires the decorator. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to basically pass this function over here to a new decorator. So what I'm going to say here is that a function requiring decorator is equal to a new decorator. Then I'll pass this right here. I'll pass it to this. Okay, so now I have a function that requires decorator. It's a new decorator. So this method, and I've passed it the function. So I've passed it this function. So now if I execute this, what I get now, let me comment this one out, is I am doing something before executing a function. I am the function that requires the decorator. I am doing something after executing a function. So basically this function gets called here. So that is exactly what decorators are. Decorators take in a function and they apply some functionality to that function. So this is the decorator. It took a function, which is this function, and then it applied something to it. It added this print statement before it and that print statement after it. But most people usually see the @ sign with decorators, and basically that is a shorthand for writing decorators. So basically instead of saying that a new decorator and then passing it a function that requires decorator, what I could have done instead is basically said the @ sign here and then giving it the @decorator, a new decorator, like so. And I'll comment these one out for now. And now if I do run the function, I get the same results. I am doing something before executing a function. I am the function that requires the decorator, and I am doing something after executing the function. So having the @ sign with a new decorator is basically a shorthand for declaring the decorator and then passing in the function to the decorator. That is it. That is basically what decorators are in Python. But there is a twist here. There is a problem. If I do print out the name of this function, so if I say print dot underscore underscore name underscore underscore, what I'll get is that the name is now a wrapper function. So it is saying that the name of this function is called wrapper function, but that's not true. That is false. Python has got something that will help us to resolve this issue. So what I'm going to do is to import. So I say from functools import, and I'll import wraps. Okay, and then what I will say is that at wraps, and I'll pass it here like so. So now if I do print this out, I get back the name, a function that requires the decorator. So that's how we solve this issue. So one thing to bear in mind is that these at wraps will go on top of the function that will apply the functionality to your decorator. Okay, and in this case it's the wrapper underscore function. So I hope this makes sense. Decorators is very confusing and you need someone to break it down. So I hope this makes sense. Basically all decorators does is that a decorator is a function that takes in another function and applies some functionality to that function. So in this case, the decorator is a new decorator that will take in a function and then apply something to the function. And the application that I did is that I printed something before executing this function, and I printed something after executing that function. That is basically what Decorators does. I hope this makes sense. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.